What's up, guys? It's the NES back again with another video. Today here we're talking about the Zelda movie. I'm finally gonna review the Zelda movie. Wait, finally? No, I'm finally reviewing it before everyone else. This is the very first review of the live-action Zelda movie from 2009, The Hero of Time. Okay. I don't actually have the Zelda movie, but I have the next best thing. The original Zelda movie, the fan film, The Hero of Time from 2009, based on Ocarina of Time, the game from 1998. So, let's talk about that, because it's actually pretty good. I've heard a lot of complaints about this movie. I don't really know why. I mean, I think for a fan film of Zelda, it's pretty much the one. I don't know. There's probably other ones out there, but it's the one that I've seen and the one that I saw back then, and very impressive for a fan film for Zelda. Uh, there's some problems. It's not perfect. It's not a perfect movie, but for a fan film, I think it turned out pretty great. A lot of people don't necessarily realize how tough it is to make a fan film, to make a film like this, to make a film in general, is a difficult thing to do. Um, I know specifically on this channel and previous channels that I've had where we tried to make a fan film, it did not go so well. Also, we were idiots, so we didn't know what we were doing. But looking at this from around the same time we were trying to make our stupid film about Resident Evil, this is a very quality piece of work. I still don't even know if fans have done anything like this to now, I mean, when I heard live-action Zelda come out of Nintendo's tweets or their mouth or whatever, I think like, oh, it can't possibly be done. How would they do such a high-quality live-action Zelda movie? And then I think back and I'm like, well, fans did like a pretty great movie back in 2009. I think Nintendo can probably do it now. So maybe this is the kind of hope or inspiration you all needed to believe in the Zelda movie until Tom Holland gets cast as Link and they get friggin', I don't know, somebody stupid as Ganon, Chris Pratt or something. I don't know. Anyway, until that moment, we have this hope to hold on to. This movie based on Ocarina of Time, the greatest Zelda game of all time. Well, for me, it's like my third favorite Zelda game, but it's pretty up there. It's pretty top tier. If you were gonna base a story off of, for a movie off of any Zelda game, it should probably be Ocarina of Time. It's the most well-known Zelda story, right? I mean, you have like the original Zelda game, which like probably a lot of people played. I don't know what's the most played Zelda game, but I'm going to guess it's Ocarina of Time, because that's the one everyone talks about. And I'm only rolling my eyes and whatever, because it's like heralded as the greatest game of all time. And it's great. I love it. I would give it a 10 out of 10, 10 more times over, because it is a game from my childhood. I just think Link's Awakening and Majora's Mask are a little bit better. That's just me, though. Anyway. So, but Ocarina of Time is the quintessential Zelda story that you would want to tell. Link going off, facing temples of iconic bosses, and fighting Ganon over 2 periods of years, In this movie, it's only 5 years in between. I don't really know. I don't really understand the point of that, because it's 7 years in the game, but they do capture a lot of elements from the game. They have to scale back on a few. Like, the adult dungeons are basically non-existent. Him climbing the mountain is like the most dungeonous of anything happening, in the movie there. So or like getting through the Lost Woods, I guess, would also be somewhat similar. They have this one shot that they keep using in the Lost Woods. It's a decent shot, but it's like this path with like these skeletons on the side, and it's like this ominous hallway of trees or whatever, and eventually, like, he's trying to find his way out of the forest, and he even asks this guy, and he's like, how do I get out? And he's eventually just like, alright, fuck it, I'm just gonna take the dark path with all the trees, and then there's nothing down there that's like ominous at all. It just leads him out of the forest, and it's like, oh, okay. There's some kind of humorous moments like that I don't know if they intended to be humorous. There's one scene in particular, that's one of maybe like my complaints from the last time I watched the movie. Maybe a little bit more humor. Of course, the last time I watched it, I was fresh off of press start there. But, you know, that's more my enjoyment speed for something like this. But, you know, an Ocarina of Time film, you're gonna have it. It's gonna be a little bit more serious, I would say. They definitely went with the serious aspect here, or they tried to. And that kind of, you know, is the tone for the movie. Serious, you know. But Ocarina of Time has a lot of whimsical moments, too, especially when he's a kid. That whole period of it is kind of whimsical when he's a child, you know, so, I don't know, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of that. They have this scene where he, like, goes into a shop in the castle town there, which, can I just say, alright, let's talk about this before we talk about that. The set design. The locations that they got are, like, really good. I know they didn't get, like, you know, Zoro's Domain or any of that in there, like, even, like, the Goron City. But come on, were you really expecting that? The shit that they did get looks really good. Like, whatever fucking castle town they went to, or whatever the backgrounds they were using there, looked great. I loved that. The forest area was cool. Like, the mountain area. Everything they had looked good. And it looked, you know, like even their Hyrule field and stuff. They have this shot from the outside of the castle, and that's really cool. Every time stuff like that happens, every time they need, like, a background or something, you can tell it's, like, maybe computer animated or, like, green screened in there, but, like, oh my god, it looks great. It looks really good. Like, for a fan film, of course, you know, like, if Hollywood did it, even if they did it, I wouldn't think it would look that bad, but I don't know, maybe somebody has criticism about that, but, like, I'm sure this film wasn't, like, super high budget or anything, so, like, I just thought that was kind of impressive. Anyway, so this is a scene where he, like, goes into this, merchant's shop or whatever, and the merchant's just, like, this, like, really over-the-top kind of, like, oh, I have what you were looking for, oh, it's this thing, no, what are you, some kind of hunter or something? It's, like, it's a really funny scene. The guy, like, who plays Link is just, like, he's just, like, doing that the whole time. They'll, like, cut back to him, like, getting his reaction, and it'll just be like, what is wrong with this guy? But, like, more like that. I mean, you know, the movie's already an hour and 48 minutes, and, I know it would have been silly to add in some, like, minigame quests or something. Like, that would have been kind of silly. No Gerudo Town either, so, I mean, there's that, but, like, but I think for what they did, you know, it was cool, and they even had some boss battles in there later. They had the Octorok battle from when he was a kid, like, in the adult timeline, instead of Morpha. And it's just, like, chasing them around Hyrule Field. That's hilarious. I love that. I don't know if that was intended to be funny, but it was actually really funny. They have, like, a montage of, like, the temple bosses out there, like, in the overworld and stuff. So that's pretty cool. I actually like that. They had, like, a giant as one of them for, like, the forest temple, I assume. They had, like, a Dodongo sort of dragon. They call it a dragon, but it looks more like Dodongo. King Dodongo from the games there. So, yeah, he was, like, the fire one. And then they have, like, Oh, like a skull. It's supposed to be like a Poe. It's like this, like, flaming skull guy, and he's floating around, and then when they defeat him, he, like, puts him in a bottle, and I'm like, oh, that's hilarious. So, pretty good. Yeah, and then they had, like, the Kakariko village town, and it's got, like, the windmill and stuff, and I'm like, oh, this is pretty cool. Also, the music is, like, top-notch. It's like very good recreations of all the songs from the game, and it's just, like the music guy was on point for this. Like, you can't have a Zelda movie without like good music. Like, honestly, if they had taken some of those tracks, like if these were in the actual live action Zelda movie, I probably would have been like, oh, that's pretty good. It's fucking yeah. You know, it's just like the Mario movie. I would have been like, that's what this feels like. It feels like really good. And this guy's like an amateur. Like, what the fuck? You know, I don't want to call him an amateur. He's probably pretty good for I seen his body of work here in the movie, and it's like, oh man, this is great. But um, yeah, you know, I mean, like, this movie, they were filming it in, like, 2005 to, like, 2009. Like, it's just really impressive. Like, they did a really good job. Um, you know, I don't mean to keep harping on it, but it's like, you don't, like, anybody who would criticize this movie, you don't really understand until you've been out there trying to make something like this, how difficult it is. Uh, I never tried to make anything to this caliber, but we, you know, like, this is so impressive. Like, even his costume looks pretty good. I mean, like, the shield looks a little, like, whatever, but, like, I thought the sword looked pretty good, and the costume looked like Link, you know? I mean, that's not that hard to pull off, but hey, you know, cool. The whole Sheik thing was a little more obvious here, like, he would have definitely known that was Sheik, but, yeah, I thought it was really good. Oh, and notably, they do, whenever he gets all of the sages, like, things to, like, power up the Master Sword, like, all the beams from each area come and, like, power up the Master Sword in the middle of Hyrule Field, which is just like in Breath of the Wild! Like, the epic, like, laser beam scene from Breath of the Wild. Like, that's, I don't want to say it's from here, but it kind of is, like, that was pretty epic, because then, after that, he, like, goes to the castle. There's a lot of action in this movie, I like taking on guards and stuff. Like, that stuff's fine. He does ride Epona, like, quite a bit in the movie. So impressive for that. Like, that the guy knew how to ride a horse, or, like, they got a stunt double to do the horse, or whatever. But, like, I thought that was pretty cool. And the final fight with Ganon is actually, like, Ganondorf. I don't think he ever, like, really turns into Ganon, but is actually pretty cool, too. Like, storyline-wise, I would say it's fairly accurate. It's pretty bare bones, but, like, they do kind of stick to the lore of the game, you know? It's like, they don't get into, like, everything, but they talk about, like, the sages and the gods and, you know, like, all of that stuff, and, like, Link, how he was a Hylian, from the forest, and, you know, like, the great Deku True dies. It kind of got all of the beats from the story. They even had, like, a Goron guy in there, like Darunia or whatever, who didn't really look like a Goron. He just looked like a guy, so, like, I don't think they were meaning for him to be, like, an actual Goron, like, you know, the rock-eating Gorons or whatever. I think he was just meant to be a guy that, like, his people are called the Gorons or whatever, you know, like, so. Yeah. There's, like, Malon and Talon. Malon dies, apparently, between the gap there, and, but Talon's still alive, so that's cool. I think the castle town is definitely a cool set piece for the movie. They come back to that one a lot, probably because it's such a cool, like, area, that they got to film, and it looked really authentic and whatnot. I thought that was neat. Wherever they got for the Temple of Time, too, that was fucking excellent. That looked really good. I liked that one a lot. That was pretty on point to, like, what the actual Temple of Time was like. That's another, like, sort of comedic scene, is when he's sitting there playing the ocarina in front of the Temple of Time. He plays, like, Saria song, and he plays like the like Happy Birthday and stuff, and then he like figures out it's the song that she was singing earlier. Then you hear like this excellent like rendition of like the Song of Time or whatever, and I'm like, oh, this is fucking great. You know, like the music in the movie is just so good. Um, you know, and at times, yes, it does feel like a fan film because it is one. And if you could go into it with that mindset, be like, this was made in 2005 to 2009. It was released in 2009, meaning it was made in like 2005, which is impressive. Uh, you know, I think you should give it a lot of credit for that. This is a fantastic movie for that. Like, I would say, and you know, like I, and, you know, I don't remember why it was. I had like some nitpicks with like the pacing last time, but I feel like watching it through again, like every scene is kind of important to, you know, everything's cohesive. It makes sense. There was like a couple scenes they probably could have cut to add more to like the boss fights or something. That would have been kind of cool. They're just kind of montages that only take up like a few minutes, so it kind of feels a little underwhelming in that regard. They spend all the time on the Dodongo sort of dragon boss, and um, not a lot of time on the other ones, which it just kind of feels it's strange, you know. I wonder if they'll do something like that in the actual Zelda movie, but for now, this is the actual Zelda movie. So I mean, this is to me always been the Zelda movie because like I would, you know, and a lot of people didn't even like my friends and stuff didn't even know about this, and I'm like, yeah, you know, there's a Zelda movie this like guy made, and it's like, oh really, based off of Ocarina of Time, you know, so and yeah, this movie was kind of a big deal back then, but like it seemed to be kind of forgotten, you know, in time or whatever. I still feel like more people talk about the IGN like April Fool's thing more than this. Like that was awesome too. I really wish that would have kind of gone somewhere, but nah. Uh, yeah, leave it to the fans. They know what's up. Especially with a franchise like The Legend of Zelda. So, uh, yeah, I mean, I think for what it is, it did a really good job, and it was a great fan film. It still stands as one of the best, or at least one of the better fan films that I've seen. I can't really think of any others that top this, really, other than, like, maybe Press Start, but that was its own original sort of thing based on video games, so I thought that was kind of cool. Like, I would probably give the edge to that movie, the first one anyway. The second one's kind of lame, but the first movie I would definitely give the edge to because it was something sort of more original, and it kind of was based on more video games, and it had some humor to it. That was some humor. It was a humorous movie. It was basically kind of a comedy, which was, I don't know, just a little bit more of what I would expect from a movie in this vein. This was trying to be more serious, and I applaud it. It did a good job at that. I'm not like sitting here getting the feels or anything, but I'm like, oh yeah, that's pretty good. You know, this is good for, it's great for what it is. You know, you got to go in tempering your expectations to this was a fan film released in 2009. I remember 2009. I was still in fucking high school, and you know, I mean, this shit like was epic back then. Like, you know, James Rolfe was still the biggest thing on the internet, and like everyone was fucking losing their minds about AVGN, and yeah, there were better times. No, they were good times, but not maybe not better. Um, but you know, Ocarina of Time is iconic. You know, it's one of the high tier Zelda games, and I think this movie does a good job at representing it. Like I said, it's not perfect. There could have been a lot of more effort put into different places in it, but to adapt Ocarina of Time into a movie and cut some of the fat, a lot of the fat, of the video game aspects and still keep a lot of what made Ocarina of Time great is a task that Hollywood hasn't even attempted yet. I mean, they're doing it now. They're attempting it now, but like, and hadn't even, you know, dreamed of attempting in like 2009. So, good for these guys. You know, yeah. So go check out Hero of Time. It's free. It's on YouTube. These guys hit it out of the park. So, until next time, this has been, or I gotta give it a review, score. I'm gonna give it like a 9.2 out of 10. Until next time, this has been Emmy, NES, or Emmy versus the movies, you know, that the whole thing. Saying stick around for more reviews, underrated movies, games, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Emily, out.